Hi, good afternoon and welcome back to my channel. My name's Lynette from Nettie Reads Too Much, and today I thought that I would bring you my March wrap-up. I had quite a little bit mixed, but mostly okay, mostly good reading month. I managed to read 13 books in total. Of those, the star ratings are as follows. I had no 1-star ratings. I had 2 2-star ratings, 2 3-star ratings, 7 4-star ratings, and 2 5-star ratings. So I think that was quite good. The 5-star ratings were books that I've read before, so I'd expected them to be good because I'd read those as part of the re-readathon, but I'll wrap that up at the end. So without further ado, let's get on with the books. So the first book that I finished this month was The Mysterious Affair at Styles by Agatha Christie. This was one of my 7 4-stars, and it's the first in her Hercule Poirot series of books that she wrote. For those of you who don't know, Agatha Christie wrote some mystery novels. One protagonist is Hercule Poirot, the detective, and the other one is Miss Marple. They've been adapted for TV. The books have been out since the 20s. They are classics of their genre, as far as I'm concerned anyway. This book takes place in a kind of a local mansion house type stately home, occupied by the local big family. Obviously, the time that this was set, there was still the stately homes still pretty much around the estates and local villages. So this is based on that family. The matriarch of the family is the one who's murdered, and the mystery surrounds who killed her and how as well. There was a little bit of a how did the murder happen. I thought it was really well written. I absolutely enjoyed it from start to finish. I have seen the Agatha Christie adaptations over the years and on the TV because my mum loves them, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. So I had no doubt that I would enjoy the storyline, but I had no idea that I'd really enjoy the writing as well. They're written so well, and I was really, really pleased. I actually picked this up on a recommendation from the Haired Bookworm. I'll try and link her channel down below. She reads a whole range of books. She reads crime, she reads romance, she reads thriller, she reads fantasy, she reads middle grade, she reads YA, she reads adult, you name it, she reads it. But her absolute love is Agatha Christie, and she started the Very Casual Agatha Christie Book Club, which she shortened to the Casual Christie Club. And every month she's going to announce a new Agatha Christie book that she's inviting all her viewers to join in with. And this was the first one that she did. It was supposed to be finished in February. I finished it a bit late, but that's just me. The next book that I moved on to after reading that one, I fancied a bit of romance, so I read Filthy Rich by Rain Miller. This was a 3-star book for me. It was good, I enjoyed it. It just didn't blow my socks off. It's the first in the Blackstone Dynasty series. It's based around Caleb, who is the now patriarch isn't the right term, but he's not quite the head, but his father's passed away, who was the head of the Blackstone family, and he's inherited everything. There are other older Blackstone family members who actually come into this story as well. And then his female interest is called Brooke, who is an interior designer. She's also a granddaughter of the housekeeper who used to work for the Blackstone family in their mansion in this island. I think it's off of Seattle. I'm not 100% certain. I can't quite remember. This is why it was only a 3-star book. It's one of those books that I was reading, enjoying, but I knew that when I got to the end, I'd forget most of the story. It wasn't badly written. There were some moments that I just rolled my eyes. There were times when you just thought, oh, for goodness sake, how many times are they going to disagree about something? And is this really going to, is this going to stop them getting together? But in the end, it all comes right. It felt a little rushed towards the end, but it all worked out fine in the end. It just got a little bit frustrating. And then the next 3 books I'm going to group together. They're all by the same author. They're all in the same series. And they are The Dragon Guardian. And I'm just going to move to the side bit, so I'm going to try and put all 3 in this corner here. The Dragon Guardian, The Dragon's Heart, and The Dragon Warrior, all by an author called Jessie Donovan. Jessie Donovan, she writes 2 series of books. One of those is called the Stonefire Dragon series. The other one is called the Lockguard Dragons. Stonefire Dragons, the clan is based in the north of England. Lockguard Dragons, as it sounds, they're the Scottish clan. And I've set myself a challenge to get up to date with 5 series this year. I'd actually picked 5 series to do, and I've wandered away from that. So Jessie Donovan actually had a new release, not last week, the week before, the 22nd, which was a continuation of the Stonefire Dragon series. And the 2 series, in a way, the overall overarching plot relating to what's going on in the background as well as the romance, it actually continues through the books, and it actually does transfer over to the Lockguard Dragons. There is a bit of crossover because the 2 clan leaders talk to each other, which is quite good. It's good fun. They have great interaction. But these three particular books, like I say, is set in Lockguard in Scotland. They are, all 3 of them are based around a member of the Mackenzie family who live on Lockguard. And it's all about how they get their happy ever afters. They're nice, easy reads. All 3 of them were 4 stars for me because I absolutely love diving back into this world, and whenever I pick one up, I can't wait. I read all 3 of them, as I say, because then that brought me right up to date with all of Jessie Donovan's books, ready to read Crave by the Dragon as soon as I picked that up, because again, later on this year in May, she's got another book which carries on from the Scotland pack as well. So I do highly recommend those 2 series. I would suggest, having read them in the way I've read them in series order rather than in publication order, is that you read them in publication order. Like I say, the worlds do, the 2 storylines do overlap a little bit, so you are better reading them in that order, in the publication order. So the next book that I moved on to was one of my library picks, and that is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Unfortunately, I only gave this book 3 stars. I wanted to give it more, but there was just, for me, it wasn't enough. I started watching the TV series when it came out last year, and I've got about halfway through. And I never finished it, and I never felt the gumption to go back and finish it, but I thought, well, I'll give the book a go and see how I get on with the book. It's kind of a dystopian, post-apocalyptic, not really any of those. What's actually happened is a group of religious zealots have taken over the US government, and there's all these new living practices, of which handmaids are one of them, but basically female rights have gone back to pre-1900s. Basically all they're good for is cooking, cleaning, marrying and having babies. And while I found this very disturbing, and it was a difficult read, I can see, although this book was written and released in the 80s, I can actually see some parallels with the world we live in today and how this could quite easily happen in the world we live in today. It's very worrying in a way that someone has foreseen this, because I do think it could happen quite easily. That being said, I just felt that sometimes, I think probably because it's being told from the point of view of the handmaid, the story is quite vague on detail. So you get told how all this came about through the handmaid's point of view, through her experiences. It's only told from her point of view, and it's told through her memories, so you're not quite sure what you're reading. And I just felt that at times it could have done with maybe some kind of other point of view being built into it to tell us how it happened. I think the TV series did that actually very well, and I'm glad I had watched the TV series, because in the first few episodes the TV series deals with how it's happened, and a lot of how it's happened. So I felt that I felt I had a better understanding of it. But yes, it's not one I'm going to reread, unfortunately. It was only 3 stars, and I was a little disappointed by that one. After that, I then went on to a re-readathon, which took place from the 18th of March to the 24th. I'm going to talk to you about that at the end of this video, so I'm just going to go through the rest of the books I read, and then I'll tell you about the re-readathon. So then after the re-readathon had finished, I then fancied something that I thought I would enjoy, that I read before. So I had an offer come up on my phone for 2 books in a series called the Steel Ridge series. They're romance novels based in a small American town called Steel Ridge. The first one I read, it was Steel Ridge, The Beginning. This is by Kelsey Browning. The whole series is written by a group of authors, and I've actually read book 6, I think, in the series, which is written by Tracy Devlin. I had that one as a review copy last year, and I did enjoy it. So when I saw these come up, I thought, I'll give them a go. Anyway, I read the first one, which is Steel Ridge. It was only about 50 to 60 pages long. It's very, very short, and all it basically does is introduce you to the 4 main Steel brothers, and their potential happy ever after love interest, go off, get married, have babies with future wives. And it's just a short introduction to the whole Steel family, but it also tells you, it gives you a little bit of backstory, because one of the Steel brothers is a billionaire, and the town that they live in, Steel Ridge, is failing financially. So there's a little bit of a rescue plan. It just introduces you to how all of that came about. So I read that one, but I thought, no, as a new book, I need to go back then and continue reading other books I already had, rather than reading a brand new one. I had another library book which I'd had since February, which I really needed to get on with, because they were threatening me again. I'm not very good at returning my library books. So after I'd finished that one, I thought, well, I still want romance. I'm enjoying the romance genre. I'll stick with it. So I will carry on and read Fourth Grave Beneath My Feet by Dorinda Jones. This is the 4th book in her Charlie Davidson series. I can't really go too much into the romance side of it, because it would give too much away. But Charlie is a Grim Reaper. You know this from the start, so I can tell you that. And then there is her love interest, Ray's Farrow. Can't tell you anything about him, because you have to read the first book to know. So if you haven't read the first book, I'm not going to spoil it for you. Anyway, she's the Grim Reaper, and she's also a private investigator investigating murders, and a lot of the time the murders that she investigates are the dead people appearing to her, and she goes from there. So in this story, we've got the usual mix of comedy, dangerous moments, ghosts turning up out of nowhere, and just moving that story forward. So they're good books. They're nice, easy reads. They're great to get through. I don't find the comedies so much fun as others have, but yes, I really enjoyed those. And I do recommend, if you like a little bit of sass with your romance, I recommend Charlie and Ray's, because they are quite good together, and I really, really enjoy it. I'm glad I got introduced to this series last year. So then my final 2 reads, other than the re-readathon this month, were 2 novellas, which we're finishing up, a motorcycle romance series. They are called, I forgot to say, Fourth Grave, I gave 4 stars. So then the romance series, the MC romance series, is Fallen Angels MC by Laura Day, and the 2 books I read were Wake Me Up and Call My Name. Unfortunately, both of those were 2-star novels. I'd read the first one, I think, a couple of years ago, and I'd bought all three at the same time. And I really wish I hadn't. I really wish I'd just read the first and not bothered with the other two. But I'm trying to read as many of the books on my backlist as possible, and this is just one of those. I wish I hadn't. They're not bad books. There's the bare bones of a story. I think if she hadn't bothered to go with novellas, she could have done one very nice main book. Maybe cut out some of the angst, some of the... it fell a bit flat for me, and they're definitely not rereads for me, and I'm unlikely to... I'm not sure I would pick up a Laura Day book again, to be honest. They had the bones of a good story. They're just not very well executed. They were a little repetitive, a little unrealistic, and also the sex that was in there just felt like it was put in there to fill a gap in her story. And some of the sex that happened, because it's more than one partner and more than one, and it didn't feel realistic to me in a way. It just, the characterization just didn't ring true for the character she was writing, so I wasn't happy with those. So then we'll go on to the re-readathon. This, like I said, ran from the 18th to the 24th of March. It was, the main host was Merphy Napier of the channel Merphy Napier. Again, I'll try and link her down below. She's another great booktuber that I like to watch. She loves rereading books. I think she said that in December, she always rereads books in December, and that was what gave her the idea for the re-readathon. Basically, the aim was just to reread books that you've read before. She had set 4 challenges. If you go back and watch my re-readathon TBR, it'll tell you all about the challenges there. I didn't meet all the challenges, I only met 2 of them, but I did read 3 books. And I have to say, this was the best reading week I've had all year. And that's because I read books that I knew I'd read and enjoyed before. The first book that I read was The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. I loved it, absolutely loved it. It's a book I've loved since I was 8 years old. I just can't recommend it highly enough. If you've got children in that 8+ age range, give them the Narnia Chronicles. They are brilliant books, and I highly recommend them. I read the book with a smile on my face. I cried at certain parts with Aslan, which I always have done, and I think I probably always will. And yes, it was just a brilliant start to the week for me. And I'm really glad that I decided to pick that one up. I just need to find time now to reread the rest of the series at some point this year. And I gave that one I gave 5 stars. It would have been a 5-star book previously, but I read it long before I ever thought of giving star ratings. So it is a new star rating on my Goodreads list, and it was given 5 stars. Then I moved on to Driven by Kay Bromberg. This is a romance novel. The backdrop is 2 worlds colliding. Basically, Colton, the main male character, he's a race car driver. Don't ask me what sort of racing. It's American car racing. I can't remember whether it's IndyCar or NASCAR. It's one of the 2, I think. Anyway, and the female character, Riley, she works with orphaned and children who are, mainly boys, who are in care and have some kind of issue. This first book is them meeting, coming together. It was really fun. I love being back in this world. I haven't picked it up for so long. He's a bit of a cocky, arrogant a-hole. She's quite sweet but sassy, trying to navigate the world of dating again after a tragedy that befell her a couple of years before. And it's just really sweet and fun, and I really enjoyed it. It's one of those books, there's some quite serious subjects that are involved with. You don't really get Colton's side of it so much, but you do get a little bit of a hint of actually there's something in his past. And obviously Riley, there's tragedy in her past. You don't know until near the end of the book what that tragedy is, but you do get a hint of it throughout. So that was good. And again, that was my other 5-star read for this month. So I really enjoyed that one, and I had to resist picking up the second book because I wanted to reread one of the other books I had on my list for the week. So after that, I then moved on to another reread, another romance novel, this time set in the world of rock music, and this was The Mighty Storm by Samantha Towell. Again, it was a 4-star book, absolutely enjoyed it. It's the world of Jake and True. Jake is the lead singer of the group The Mighty Storm, who are a massive rock band. He's about to go on tour after time away from the band because he had treatment for drink and drug addiction following the death of a band member. True is they were best friends growing up. They lived next door to each other, and they drifted apart after Jake moved back to America. It's a really great story. It's second chance romance. I have to say, there is cheating involved on her side, not his. Be prepared for that if you don't like cheating. I just think it was it wasn't as well done as it could have been, but you can see how the author really, really tried. And it did work out well in the end because it didn't take up too much time, and there wasn't a lot of the cheating took place over a period of a week, and then it's quite quickly resolved, and the wronged party finds out quite quickly. So it's not dragged out for too long, and there is honesty involved in the coming clean. So it is well done from that point of view. But yes, it does end up with them kind of being together and not together, and there is more angst that happens with him being a rock star. Things happen, and drugs comes back into it, and I just thought it was really well done. I really enjoyed it, and it was a great way to end the re-readathon, and that week ended one of the best weeks that I've had so far. So those were my 13 books for the month. I hope that you really enjoyed hearing about them. Hopefully, well, I may have inspired you to read one or two of them. If so, let me know down below what you picked up and what you thought of it, and I will see you soon in another video. Goodbye.